Hello and welcome to Fearless DIY Music. My name is Tristan Lass, and today I'm joined by my dear friend Kevin Gamble. He and I are going to have a conversation on a topic. Today's topic is going to be a lot of fun to explore. But before we jump into that, I was going to see if Kevin had anything he wanted to discuss about recent content on the channel.
Well, hello, Tristan. Thanks. And very much looking forward to our topic today, but wanted to briefly touch back on a recent video that I think everyone should check out. It's a subject that's near and dear to my heart. It's the sort of the question of art versus product. And I thought you made a lot of good points about really what we're doing this for at the end of the day, and how to kind of keep your priorities straight on that. And also wanted to add on a little mention of the context we're all in today with technology, is that there's been a lot of emphasis probably over the last 20 years of digital music making, especially on copying, whether it's sampling other artists or using technology to sound just like a trend. Coming into the age of AI, technology is really going to do that for us, and we won't need human beings anymore to imitate what's out there or to sample what's out there or replicate it. AI will be able to do it much better, much quicker, and there's no way that a human being is going to be able to outpace the algorithm on imitating music and making derivative product. It just won't be needed, and I know we've touched on this on some previous videos, but it feels like the only way for our art to have value going forward is for it to be just a real product of our own imaginations and our own artistic visions. And whether that stands or holds up or falls into obscurity, it's really the only sustainable way to build anything meaningful, I think, going forward. Coming up, we had tools that were neutral. They didn't do any of the work for us. We had to make everything ourselves. And even if we tried to copy something, it would still be hopelessly filtered through our own, limitations and our own ability. And I think that that's kind of what things have to get back to in order for the human element to survive the technology that's coming.
I think that's oh, excuse me. And I am still struggling a little bit with a cold, but it's not too bad. Anyway,
Yes.
that is an excellent point, and something that I wish I had raised in the video is that, yes, we can't algorithm the algorithm. So, making things that are designed for a specific target audience is kind of pointless anyway, because, it will be done by the machines. So I think that is a very valid point. And thank you for adding that in. And if you have not checked out that video about art versus asset, I will link that down below so that you can go and check it out if you're interested in seeing my video on that. All right, let's get into our topic. I wanted to do something fun today. I wanted to do a thought experiment. And in this thought experiment, I asked Kevin to pick a pedal brand, and let's pretend that it is the only brand in existence. All the other pedals on the planet, all the other makers are gone. There's only one company left standing and their product line. Which company would you choose that would fulfill your needs for the rest of time? Because there would never be any other pedals except for pedals made by one specific company. And I thought this would be a fun exercise to kind of think about the brands that are out there. There's a lot of, big legacy brands. There's a lot of very obvious picks if you just wanted to have, any different kind of pedal at your disposal. But I thought it would be really interesting to see what each of us would choose. So Kevin's going to reveal his choice first. When he is done, I will show him what I had guessed would be his pick, and then he's going to try to guess mine before I go into my discussion of my pick. So, Kevin, I'm really, really curious to see what it is that you chose to be the one and only pedal brand in existence.
Well, this was an interesting topic for me, Tris. As you mentioned, we've shared the topic, but we haven't shared our picks with each other, and
No, neither
even
of us
knowing
know.
each other. Yeah, even knowing each other as long as we have, I didn't have an automatic answer, and it I thought I could go a lot of different ways. So the reveals are going to be interesting and the explanations. But it was tough for me at first because I think, like most people, I've assembled the pedals that I have in sort of a hodgepodge way, not thinking in terms of everything through one brand. And so it's an odd collection of sort of random effects. And my first thought was, what company can I pick that will cover all these different odd things I've assembled? You know, what's the replacement for my 3-leaf Proton envelope filter, or my, oddball 80s Ibanez pan delay pedal or whatnot? And so I struggled with it a bit, thinking it's like, how can I shoehorn what I have into another company? But the breakthrough in thinking was just kind of going back to what you described and saying, okay, starting from scratch, starting with nothing, and filtering through my priorities as a creator, and as a human being, what I want to be the thing that I go with. And maybe it wouldn't look like what I have at all. Maybe I wouldn't have the same capabilities, but what would I feel best about kind of saying, this is going to be my thing. This is going to be what I support, and what I choose to represent myself with. That got me on track to thinking about it. So, and what I realized when kind of going back to that was that the pedals I have don't necessarily represent my snapshot priorities for right now, and what I have used more of, and what I have found to be more important when actually doing the work of creating. And I've turned over some pedals over the years, and I look at what I have now, and I see some that are essential and some that, well, maybe I don't need these after all. It was a great exercise in just considering what I need or don't need. And so, and what I came back to in all of that with the preamble there is I realized that what I find most useful in pedals is first off, covering a couple sort of key distortion types that kind of sound like me, that feel like home when it comes to electric guitar. And then having some nice quality modulation effects that are high quality enough that they can be, they can actually be an asset in getting the creative point across. But I don't necessarily love having a bunch of separate individual pedals for every single effect of that type, be it phaser or, flanger or things like that. It's not that important to me to have a separate individual box for every single type of modulation effect. Some things are more important than others in that regard. And so, thinking about those priorities, what really do I need, which has been simplified in my mind over time, wanting the pedals to have those particular voices and that particular level of quality, and maybe some degree of packaging together of certain types of effects. And then the other question of what
just to interrupt real quick, so you're saying that multi-effects are important to you?
Well, they can be for certain things.
Okay.
I don't feel the need for certain types of effects. I don't feel the need to have a separate box for each of them.
Okay.
So efficiency where it makes sense is appealing to me. But I'm also not big on the current wave of digital pedals where you've got a mini monitor on the box and you're scrolling through lots of menus and things like that. And so the knob turning, button pushing aesthetic is really the kind of UI that I like. And then stepping a little further back and looking at companies, what do I want to support? What do the ethic of this channel, DIY, I think is important to both of us in supporting that. So ideally, I'd love for it to be an American or a Japanese company, and I'd like for ideally for the pedals to be made domestically in one of those places. And I want to feel good about the creator. I want to feel good about the designer and builder of these pedals and what their philosophy is and what their approach to music is and so forth. And so that wouldn't have concerned me so much maybe when I was 20, but right now it's like, well, if I have the choice, I want to be able to feel good about all these things, sonics and philosophy. And so that said, I know that's a long introduction, but when I filtered all of that and looked at the makers out there and the products, I kept coming back to one name, and that's really what I've settled on. And the name is Wampler.
Really?
So I fooled you.
That blows my mind. Yeah, I love Wampler. I love Brian. I don't own any of his products, but I love his
I don't
videos.
either.
I love him as a person, and that is a really good choice because he does have like the Terraform. He has so many different pedals that are multi-use pedals. He also has lots of good side by side overdrive pedals. So you could actually probably put 4 of his pedals on a board, carry that anywhere in the world, and have pretty much everything you need.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah,
What you
that's
just
super
said
cool.
is exactly where I settled because, okay, well, real quick, he's got the Klon type distortion, the Tumnus pedal, which it's not like I'm specifically focused on Klon, but the Tumnus is just a really nice sounding overdrive pedal. It's just transparent and sounds great. The other type of distortion that I like is kind of an 80s hard rock metal type distortion, and he's got the Rat's Bane pedal, which
Yes.
has the classic and some updated voicing on that. So those are my distortions. And then the combo pedals you talked about, the Terraform and the other pedal, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name. It's a reverb delay combo pedal.
And he
But
just
that's
released
4 pedals.
Yeah, he
What's
just
that?
released he just released that too. That was or he just released another like reverb delay pedal that's super cool.
Yeah.
There's
So that's 4 boxes, and that covers everything I need. And the modulation effects are high quality. And something he's also exploring is those 2 combo boxes. You buy the physical pedal, you get the plug-in version of the pedal,
Yes,
which is
yes,
an
which
exact
is really
duplicate
cool,
of that.
which
So
is super cool.
nice kind of looking ahead type of approach, keeping that sound in both of your workflows. So anyway, put all those things together, and like you said, I think from what I've seen of him on videos, I really love his outlook. I love his approach. I love his
Yeah.
very open book DIY sharing of knowledge and information, and American-made pedals, and so yeah.
super
I
cool.
don't own any, but now,
Yeah.
but after doing this exercise, I kind of want to sell everything I have and just get those pedals and
And just
actually
do that,
live
yeah.
the exercise you gave me. So, yeah, funny stuff, but that's where I ended up.
That is super fun, and that's what I was hoping in this video, is that there would be some surprises, and that really surprised me. All right, should I do my and also just as a shout out, just I would be really interested if I had the coin, I would buy some Wampler stuff and mess around with it. You're going to see from my choice of pedal company, you're going to see why that probably wouldn't make much sense for me necessarily. But I would love to check his stuff out at some point. It's just I don't have the maybe when the channel has enough revenue flow, we can maybe buy a few things to just try them out. But Wampler would be at the top of at the top of a very short list of American builders that I would be interested in checking out his stuff, because it seems very functional. It seems very pragmatic. He has a very good, and he's got that musician first approach to the pedals, which I like.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my guesses were, or I'll just say what my guess was, and
Okay.
I thought you might go with TC Electronic.
That was on the list.
TC Electronic, the reason why I thought that is because they are budget friendly in some cases, not across the board, but they also have, and it's interesting because you were looking more at the multiple use box. That kind of, TC has a few of those things floating around in their thing, but I thought you'd be more into the okay, this does this does that. And the cool thing about TC is they have, contemporary designs and they have classic designs. They do a lot of cloning, and their stuff's relatively inexpensive. So you could actually buy a lot of TC. And, I have a few that are in regular rotation on my pedal board. The Sub and Up is a go-to for me. I think it's the best octave pedal out there as far as usability and sounds. So anyway, let's I would love to see if you have guessed the brand that I would pick.
Well, it's kind of like what you alluded to. I had a couple different ideas, and each of them were the different ideas I thought of for you were for very different reasons. And so if my guess is wildly off base, then it probably is because it covers maybe one aspect of what I would consider for you. And I tried to not pick something completely obvious either. I don't know if it was the case for you, but my ground rule was I'm not going to choose Boss because, when a company has 200 some pedals, it makes it too easy.
Boss would be, that's like shooting fish in a barrel. I mean,
yeah, it would be way too easy of a choice. Everybody could get by with Boss pedals, no exceptions, I think. But so, yeah, this was tough. I feel like I'm on the spot now, but
see if
I
you
thought
got
I would
it.
just roll the dice and end up with this for you.
JHS. That is so funny. That is so funny. And so far off the mark, like not even in the same universe. I respect Josh as a pedal builder. I'm not, and I really respect the videos the content lately has been really, with the Ross thing kind of tanking and how he's been dealing with the backlash / the fallout from all of that, I think has been very graceful. And I think that he does add so much to the pedal space. The problem with me and JHS is just that I'm not interested in what I don't like the aesthetic. Number one, because I would want the $99 pedals, but I don't want something that looks like I know that it's kind of cheeky to make it look generic, and stuff like that. The multi-effects pedals that have 15 rats in them and things like that don't interest me either. And I think it'll when I do my reveal here in a moment, what I've noticed, especially through the recording process and over the process of building my own pedals over the past few years, building my boards, is more and more I'm going to, this pedal does a single sound, that is that sound, that is what it does. I like to have a fair amount, like I'm looking over at my studio board, I've got I've got 12 pedals, or no, more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I got 15 pedals over there. All of them basically have one setting, and I just, toggle between them. And thinking about that, and thinking about some sounds that are super, super important to me that I can't replicate any other way. Guess what effect was my deciding effect? Just pick one effect that I love so much, and I refer to it quite a bit on the channel. That was that is the linchpin of my choice.
Now, see, if I thought of that probably would have. That's what I should have done. I think is thought through the actual pedals you've got and build it out from that.
Or had, because I don't currently even have this pedal, and that's part of my fantasy of doing this thought experiment. But it was a critical piece of gear for me for a long, long time.
All right, you'll have to reveal it. I
Flanger.
Addled by the choices.
Flanger is the effect, and the brand is MXR.
Oh, that was my second choice. I was like, that's too obvious a choice.
MXR, baby.
Because just overwhelming utility. Yeah.
I use a microamp clone that I built myself as my boost pedal. If I have a microamp and I have an MXR flanger and a Phase 90,
yeah.
I gotta have my phaser too. Phaser and flanger, those are my modulation effects for time immemorial. The carbon copy is an excellent analog delay. I don't need anything beyond an excellent analog delay. So my board would look something like this. It would be a Dynacomp, because I use compression. Not all the time, but when I finger pick on electric guitar, or if I'm doing really sustainy solo stuff, I use a compressor. So I would use a Dynacomp into a microamp. Distortion to me, the classic, DOD 250, which is a ripoff of the Distortion Plus. So I would go Dynacomp, microamp, use the microamp to push that Distortion Plus into a flanger, into the phaser, into a carbon copy. I'm done. 6 pedals. And at some point, I am going to liquidate, and I'm going to make that. I want to make that board. I just want to have a little MXR board that is just super easy to take from the studio to the shop if I travel. And I think that I could live off of just those 6 pedals. I really do. I think I could get by just fine with those.
Yeah, and those have been workhorses for you for so long. They've really proven the ones you have really proven their value and endured throughout a lot of other different changes. And I think, it almost feels like declaring MXR the winner because they were my number 2 choice.
That's really cool.
For me as well.
Yeah.
I only have I guess I got a couple of them right now. I've got a bass octave pedal. I've got the Phase 99.
Stuff's good too.
Yeah, it's my favorite octave pedal for sure. And the Phase 99, which is like 2 phasers in one box.
Sure.
And the depth of that sound is really outstanding. And so, there are a lot of other effects they have that completely nail it. For guitar, I don't know, I'd probably get an Eddie Van Halen distortion and chorus. Sure. and cover that bass with that. And they've got some great, like you said, great compressors and so forth. And so for my single pedal choice, that was, it was hard to look away from MXR, but I tried to go in a different direction.
Thought you might. I knew that was a possibility for you. That's why I was like, my second right here, I folded it over, was MXR. That was my second guess for you. So it came in number 2. I was way off base on TC Electronic. But yeah,
no, that's good stuff. They've got a lot of good stuff too. I'm sure I'd be happy with it. But we both, it's kind of clear what the priorities are after talking about it. So.
And it's cool because, I kind of opted to go with more of like the classic MXR lineup, at least with the pedal board I just described. But if you look at their whole product line, there's nothing you can't do. I mean, they have everything covered. They maybe don't have like the really wild like ring modulator or some of those crazy bit crushing kind of effects or things that Chase Bliss does. You're not going to find that in the MXR lineup. But I think you'd be hard pressed to not be able to get by just fine with just the MXR product line. And like I said, I wanted to kind of even get more, focused by just doing the kind of more classic designs. Because, I mean, how many compressors have been based off the Dynacomp? How many phasers have been based off the Phase 90? How many, the flanger, there is no better flanger on the planet than the 4-knob MXR gray box. I mean, the 117 is it. I mean, there is no other flanger in my mind. And then I would probably go with the EVH version just so I could hit that one button to get that cool, jet plane thing just like that, and then have another setting with the faster modulation that I like. And they've got a good chorus too. I mean, you just go on and on. But yeah, MXR, that was my choice. And I think that at some point, like I said, I'm going to build that board, and I think that'll be fun. The other hidden treasure is the micro amp. I think that if there was no other boost on the planet, you'd be fine. I just remember always reading that Alex Lifeson, he's like, really the key to my whole rig live is the micro amp. And he's like, I pretty much leave it on all the time just because that circuit has just a certain tonal quality to it that it's just secret sauce. And I pretty much keep mine on all the time too, for clean and dirty tones. So, well, there we have it. It looks like Wampler and MXR. I mean, that's a pretty, and if just those two existed, there would be no need for hardly anything else, or there wouldn't, at all, I think, because
that really
Wampler
covers the base.
So much.
The tried and true, bases are covered with that.
Sure.
So.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching. If you made it this far into the video, I hope you hit the subscribe button. Down in the comments, what would be your dream brand? Tell us. Let's keep this going and just think about, okay, well, if there was no other brands and I had to have just one, what would you pick? And we would love to see that down in the comments. Likes and shares are always greatly appreciated. And on your way out, hit that subscribe button for us, and we'll see you next time with another show. Take care.